Hello, it's Mrs. Jones, and I am here today to do a video training for the staff of Henry Wilson Memorial School on the Brody Method. So this information is in your packet that you received for the workshop, and I'm going to be going through it step by step. So basically, the Brody Method is a method of syllabication that was created by a New Hampshire high school special education teacher, Sarah Brody. She targeted high school students who could not fluently decode multisyllabic words, and she came up with two unique ideas. One was to teach students how to decode syllables by giving them a mark that she called coding, and to teach students the most common syllable type first, and then to each unit continue on until you get to the least common type of syllables. The materials that you're going to be receiving for the workshop were created by Maine Junior High special education teacher Sarah Watson, who was introduced to this method before there was a lot of materials created. So she created all the materials that you're going to see, and she also took the coding system and made it a little more consistent across the syllable types, because it originally varied quite a bit from unit to unit. I've used this program successfully with students in grades 2 and up. And for a student to be a good candidate for the Brody Method, they should have an overall reading level of at least a late first grade. They should understand what a syllable is. They might not be able to divide a word by syllables, but they should be able to hear syllables. They should be able to know what a vowel and a consonant is, and that vowels have a long sound and a short sound. But I've also found this program to be very successful with students who are at a 3rd or a 4th grade reading level, but just aren't fluent decoders and are not good with multisyllabic words, and I've used it that way as well. So once you've decided that a student is a good candidate, and you do have in your packet a pre-test that I created so that you can use to help determine that, how do I know where to start? Well, all students begin in Unit 1 because Unit 1 is the most common syllable type. The only thing you have to decide is if you want them to start in Part A of the unit or Part B of the unit. Part A is 2-syllable words, and Part B is 3 or more syllable words. And that will be decided from their overall reading level. The lower the reading level, the more likely you want to start with Part A. With more advanced students, you want to be starting with Part B. I would suggest that you start with Part A simply because it's much easier to go more difficult and more challenging than it is to scale back. But then, of course, it also depends on their reading level. If you've got students at a higher reading level, you probably want to get them only 3-syllable words and above. So a typical Brody session lasts about 15 to 20 minutes. You don't want it to last much longer than that because it is pretty intense because they are working right in their zone of proximal development for the entire lesson. So it's pretty intense. I do find students that benefit from this program also benefit with some comprehension work as well. And one instructor can teach between 1 and 4 students. One of the disadvantages of this program is it needs a very small group in order to be successful. So let's take a look at your program materials and see how a typical unit is set up. You can see this is Unit 1, and you're going to see this cover sheet for all of the units. You're going to see see, mark, sound, spell, and keywords. So this tells you what type of syllable it is. This is one vowel by itself before a consonant. The way you mark it is VC. The vowel sound is a short vowel sound. This is the spelling, and these are the keywords. And that was something that Sarah Watson added, was these keywords. Every unit has keywords. And the students, one of the first things when they get to a new unit, they're going to make these into flashcards. And flashcard practice is the first thing they're going to do every time they have a Brody lesson, which you're going to see in another video, an actual Brody lesson. The next thing you're going to have is the introductory words that you're going to be using. This is level A, so these are 2-syllable words that follow that simple CVC, or if you've taught Wilson before, a closed syllable. These are the words that you're going to be introducing to the students, and this is done on a whiteboard. You'll get to see that. And you pretty much go in order. And the next part that you're going to see in your lesson, in your unit, is your spelling words. Now, the spelling component is really important because students should both be decoding and encoding their words. You can use these for spelling lists if you would like, but you can just use them as part of spelling in the program. Then you're going to have 8 word lists that have 8 words each. The words are very large and spread out, and this is actually your assessment for progress monitoring. This is the only thing that in the program that you'll need to make copies of for individual students. So we have 8 weeks of progress monitoring. Most students don't need all of that time, but some do. Then we have sentences for both dictation and reading. I don't use the dictation sentences as much, but I do use the reading sentences, so they're getting a chance to use the skill in context. And then there is a piece for them to read that is vocabulary controlled for that one syllable type. Now these sentences and the reading part, these are really designed to be interesting more to junior high and high school students. So you may or may not want to use them with elementary students. So that's the A section of Unit 1. Now we get into the B section of Unit 1. And it starts the same. We have introductory words. We have a suggested, these lessons and a suggested kind of scope and sequence. This one has a huge resource list. This is ginormous because you always want to be giving kids new words. You don't want to ever have more than one child have the same word. And this again, these are 3-syllable and above. This is the spelling lists. This is your 8 weeks of progress monitoring. And then this particular one, not all of them have sentences or stories. Some of them I've lost over the years. And so that's the end of Unit 1. All of the units are exactly the same. Here's Unit 2. They all start out the same with your introduction, your resource list, your spelling list, and your progress monitoring lists. So in our second lesson, you're going to actually see a Brody unit being taught. This is a student who has progressed quite a long way through the program. He has gone up about 2 grade levels in reading. His comprehension's lagging a little bit behind his decoding skills, but his decoding skills are just amazing. And this is a student who started out the year at a 2nd grade reading level, an early 2nd grade reading level, very disfluent. At that level, however, very slow fluency, about 40 or 50 words a minute, and has made huge progress. He's up to about 80 words a minute on a 4th grade level text, and so you're going to get to see him in action in part 2.